I feel some momentum brewing finally with the Seattle Mariners. 50-48, 2 games above 500, and that's very big news for a team that's been stuck, hovering at a little bit above 500, like a game over 500, or a little bit below 500, a game under 500. 2 games over 500 after an insane Saturday afternoon ball game against Toronto, which feels like a road game a lot of times. They win 2 nights in a row. A walk-off from Teoscar Hernandez, and then today just some crazy baseball where they were up 3-0, and then they were down 7-4, and then they went up 9-7 in one inning. They put up 5 runs, and then they gave up a run in the 9th to make it 9-8 and somehow made it out. But this is what's going on with the Mariners. They have up and down baseball, but somehow they prevailed today after playing the Toronto Blue Jays. And I have some theories about the season kind of being on a new note. Now, we all know last year was the year the Mariners broke their 21-year playoff drought, the curse, whatever you want to call it. But it all sparked at one point in the season, and you're going to think this theory is maybe a little crazy, but it all sparked when Jesse Winker started a brawl against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, whatever they're called, the poverty franchise in Los Angeles. He started a brawl. People were suspended left and right, a lot of things happening. Well, what happened after the brawl? One thing happened, and this is why I'll forever appreciate Jesse Winker, regardless of how bad he was or if he was a bad clubhouse guy by the end of the year. I appreciate that he put some spark in this team. From that moment on, the Mariners ended up going on a 14-game winning streak, which was the longest winning streak going into an All-Star break, I think since like 1913, something crazy like that, in 100 years. And they made the playoffs for the first time in 21 years, and that probably wouldn't have happened without that 14-game winning streak. We were not a very good baseball team before that. We were underperforming, but something clicked. There was emotion in the locker room finally, and they went on the run and became a very high-quality, extremely high-quality baseball team later in the season. Now, this year, it sounds so stupid to say out loud, but I actually believe it. I know some people are probably going to agree, some won't. I feel like the moment the Kelenic cooler kick happened, there was going to be a wake-up in the season, or it was going to be a disastrous ending. Like, we're going to go just be awful. Jarred Kelenic is obviously a young man still. He's younger than I am, and he got frustrated about a strikeout in a big moment against the Twins, against one of the best closers in baseball. You know, he thought he had an opportunity to help his team win the game, and he kicked a cooler really hard that he broke his foot, and he's on the IL. Well, it's unfortunate because he's been one of our better players this year. That's not saying much because we've had a lot of batters struggling, but he's played better than most people this year. And that was a point in the season where now, man, we are about to play a lot of Dylan Moore. They said there's going to be a lot of AJ Pollock platoon time, who's on the IL now, which it's Trammell came back up. So it's going to be a lot of Dylan Moore, Trammell time. Maybe Merlot, K. Merlot, but like, I don't know. It's a weird situation, but it's starting to work somehow. The Mariners, since the Kelenic kick, they're on a 3-game winning streak. They beat the Blue Jays on some crazy games back-to-back. And on top of it all, they're 2 games over 500. They're 50-48. Like I said, a team that's been so stuck at average. Just a few days ago, there was a tweet that went pretty viral here on Mariners Twitter about how much this team was a 500 baseball team. They were 47-47 at the time. They lost another game after that, so they were 47-48, and now they've won 3 straight at 50-48. But at the time, here's how it broke down. In their last 2 games, they were 1-1. Their last 4, they were 2-2. Last 6, 3-3. Last 8, 4-4. Last 10, 5-5. Last 20, 10-10. And the last 60, of course, they were 30-30. The 500 Mariners. And there's only one answer to why that is. Because they were an average baseball team. It's not because they have bad luck. It's not because this or that or, oh my God, we're getting bad opportunities. They're just an average baseball team. But the beauty of baseball is you can be an average team one day, and a month later you can be the best team in baseball. You can be the worst team in baseball. Baseball's a game of runs. They've had no runs. They just they've had runs of being average. They win a couple games, they lose a couple games, which is way better than the scenario that they had, you know, just underperformed all year. They haven't really underperformed or overperformed. They've just been pure average. They've been exactly a team that wins a couple games and loses a couple games. But now, maybe, just maybe, let my optimistic, hopeful Mariners self believe today, because on Saturday, July 22nd, on this afternoon, the Mariners are coming off of a walk-off RBI by Teoscar Hernandez, and then today they're coming off a 9-8 comeback victory against the Toronto Blue Jays at home again, which is essentially on the road when you're playing the Blue Jays, so they're very impressive wins. We're coming off these fun moments, and we're 2 games over 500, so it's time for me to believe that this team might get hot, and it's time for me to believe that maybe, just maybe, something like the Kelenic kick, breaking his foot on a cooler, yeah, it's bad for the team, but at the same time, maybe it's good. Maybe the team woke up and it's like, this season is about to go to shit. One of our best players is breaking his foot by kicking a cooler because of frustration. We're sitting here below 500. We're not very good. We're below expectations. Time's crunching on us. And there was a wake-up call. And maybe that's it, and maybe it's not. Maybe they go back to 500, and maybe they keep winning and it had nothing to do with Kelenic. But I like to always find some turning points in the season regardless. So whether you think it's funny, not funny, I'll always remember. If this was the turning point in the season, I'll remember that, man, that was like last year. We had the brawl, and then I was like, shit, things just kind of changed after that. This year it might be, remember Kelenic broke his foot. We were wondering how the hell are we going to platoon A.J. Pollock and Dylan Moore? What the hell is going to happen in this team? And all of a sudden you're like, yeah, later that week you had a couple Dylan Moore big hits. Colton Wong got an RBI single and then stole second base. And then Cal Raleigh had a 2-home run game against the Blue Jays on Saturday. All this while having some subpar pitching. I mean, the Blue Jays scored 8 runs and we still won by scoring 9 and showing up in big moments despite having a home plate umpire who I think he ejected the Mariners hitting coach. And there was just a lot of anger on Twitter about him today because he was awful. Really bad home plate umpire today. All this happened, but guess what? The Mariners found a way to win. They found a way to win 2 in a row, 3 in a row, and they found a way to now be 2 games above 500, which they've had trouble figuring out how to do the entire season. So this is a really exciting time to be a Seattle Mariners fan if this continues. If not, we're talking about a team that might sell before the deadline. And that's where the really key, interesting last part comes in is if this continues, this team might not sell right now. If you go on another 2 or 3 games, all of a sudden you're a game or 2 out of a wild card spot. I think we're at 5 or 4 right now. I haven't checked the updated since the game finished. I pressed record right as Saturday afternoon game finished here at 4 o'clock. But we're a couple games out of the wild card, 5, 6 maximum, and maybe it's going to be 3-2 if we win a couple more games. I'm not saying you have to win 14 in a row. Even if you lose tomorrow to the Blue Jays and you win another 2 or 3 games, all of a sudden you're really close. And then the team doesn't feel like they have to sell. And maybe they're buying at the break. Maybe they're like, let's get in one more relief pitcher. Let's get in one more bat and see what we can make out of this season because the talent is supposed to be there. With no disrespect to how bad these guys have been. They've been god-awful for how good they're supposed to be. I'm not saying Colton Wong is supposed to be batting 320, but he's not supposed to be batting 150. So with all due respect to these dudes, they're playing like absolute dog shit compared to what they're supposed to be playing. Which the only way from there is up, right? When you hit rock bottom, the only way you can go is up. And I kind of feel like we're at that point in the season where Oscar Hernandez is starting to play better. Colton Wong made a couple moments. I'm not saying he's playing great, but there's a couple moments here and there where you're like, oh, that's good. Cal Raleigh had 2 home runs today that, and he loves being that Blue Jay killer, bro. That's just who he is. Dylan Moore's making plays. Julio Rodriguez hit his first home run in 4 weeks today, making plays. And this is all despite giving up 8 runs today. Things are just slowly starting to happen here and there. Even Gino starting to hit a couple more momentum home runs that you're feeling at the right times. So for this Mariners team, I'm just hoping this continues so we don't have to give up on this season because there is a possibility that if this 3, 4, 5 games didn't happen, let's say right now we were 5 games below 500, Hernandez isn't on this team at the break. Paul Sewald probably gone in a trade. A couple other guys here or there might be sold at the deadline. And I don't know if that's going to happen. I know it sounds crazy over a 3-game stretch, but that's just how baseball works. Maybe they get hot right now. They're only a game or 2 out of the playoffs. On top of it all, it's a good push for Shohei Ohtani. I know some people think it's insane to believe it, but his trainer, his interpreter, lives in Seattle. Shohei spent some off seasons in Seattle, is working at Driveline Baseball, I believe in Kent or Renton. It's a close flight to Japan. He's either going to play for the Dodgers, the Angels, the San Francisco Giants, or the Mariners next year. I'm 100% sure, not 100, but I'm 100% confident that it's going to be one of those. I don't think he's going to go to the East Coast. I don't think he's going to go to Houston. He's going to stay on the West Coast, close flight to Japan. He's lived in Seattle during the summer before, or during an off season, actually, not necessarily the summer, during an off season. His interpreter's from there and is a Mariners fan. There's a lot of things that potentially fit in the boxes. And the only way that possibly works is if you're a contender at the end of this year, because he's not going to go leave the Angels and then pick the Mariners who missed the playoffs over the contending Giants or Dodgers, okay? So we have to play good if we even want to consider the fun of it. Just enjoy the idea. You have to win some baseball games. So overall, big win today on a Saturday. There might be hope for this season. The counting kick might have made a big difference. I'm fucking serious about that. I know it sounds crazy, but I am. I love y'all. Like and subscribe. Seahawks, Mariners, Sonics, all Seattle sports content on this page for you. We also have a podcast page, Sports on Tap Seattle. It's SONT Seattle. You've probably seen us on Twitter somewhere, either at Mariners on Tap or at SONT Seattle, Sant Seattle. That page will be down below in the description, and it's always somewhere you can find on my page with my other channels. I love y'all for all the support. Let me know if you like Mariners videos or not, because I'm going to start doing them more often. If I'm being honest with you guys, I'll have a lot of Seahawks section and Mariners section. So stay tuned. Love y'all. Peace.